So there's only been about 15 minutes of technical difficulties.
Yeah, and when you don't have a crew setting up and taking care of your tech needs, it's funny how things will sprawl.
I was starting to think maybe we should just go to different rooms and Zoom each other from different rooms. Jeez. Okay, off to a rousing start. We're Mercy and the Manz. How's it going?
Oh, okay. I'm playing injured today.
Morale is down in the Carrera Caprista household. We have been under the weather. We were pissy that we didn't have gigs this past weekend, but it's a good thing that we didn't because we were just in bed all day, pretty much.
Yeah, it's funny how the psychology of like your body knowing that you're not like needing to be anywhere to perform, and then it's like, oh, you can get sick now. It's like, actually, I was hoping to enjoy my weekend, but
Yeah,
you
there's
know,
so many people that were playing around, or that there were shows, or just we wanted to go dancing, and anyway, didn't get to do any of that. And we haven't seen our kiddo because we've kept her at her dad's to keep her from getting sick. But anyways, here we are, rousing start.
yeah, you get to listen to this voice for the next 45 minutes or so. Lucky you.
But we wanted to debrief one of our first gigs of the year, our first public gig, because we did have a private gig. But we got to play number one Broadway in Los Gatos.
Yeah, it's kind of become a new like sort of spot for us, I guess. Like there's a guy named David Zapatos who has his own cover band. He's also like sound lighting guy, but he's kind of like gotten in there and I guess in a couple other places, but especially number one Broadway. He's kind of trying to become like the band booker there, I guess, and they're kind of letting him have a little bit of leeway. So he's a big supporter of ours, and he's been trying to get us in there regularly. Um, and it's it's one of those places like we went there so early on before COVID, before they had renovated. And it used to be this like real, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but it used to be this like place that I would like to drink, which is just like an old kind of beat up tiny bar with a pool table and the smallest stage, maybe the smallest stage I've ever been on.
That's right, it did have a pool table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which took up a lot of space.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about pool tables. If you go into a bar with a pool table, it's going to tell you a couple things, I think, about that spot. And one is that it's a casual spot, because any place that's really trying to make a lot of money doesn't have a pool table in it, because pool tables take up a metric S ton of, I don't think we don't really cuss on this podcast. Takes up a whole lot of real estate in the bar.
Yeah.
And not only like the space of the actual pool table, but like the people like moving around it to try to play. I remember there's a spot, one of my neighborhood bars in San Francisco. I was in Lower Haight for about 13 years, and there was a spot up at the top of the hill at Page and Divisadero, and the bar was called very creatively The Page. And I would have gone there so much more, except it was a very narrow, long bar. And if you went there on any night where it was even remotely busy, they had two pool tables. So you go in, the bar's on your right, it's narrow, and there's kind of like a one landing with a pool table, and then like another landing with like two pool tables. And if you ever went there when it was busy, there's no place to sit or stand. And the fact that you had to walk up a hill, I was just like, this is not in my rotation.
It's also the thing where you're dodging pool cues the whole time because you're like trying not to get rammed or anything.
Well, not that early in the night anyway.
Not that way. But anyway, so number one Broadway doesn't have pool tables
Not anymore. Yeah. No, I mean,
it's pretty nice and slick in there now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know they've gone through some ownership changes and whatnot, but like they renovated that place. I think they started pre-COVID, but then really used the COVID lockdown to like finish that renovation, and now it's a really nice room. I've always been very pleasantly surprised by the demographics in there. Feels like a very um, good mix of young and old, and well, I use the term old loosely, right? But like, because I'm 43, so
Yeah.
but it's a good mix, I think, and the energy's always been good in there. Everybody seems to mind their manners, you know.
Yes. It also feels like people really want to hear live music and they come like one of the really cool things is like multiple people came up and they said, "We were waiting to see when you guys were going to be here again. We came because we saw that you were here." So people pay attention and they came out because of that. Not to say that they wouldn't have gone any other time, but they really do seem to show up for bands, which so you're not getting people there that are kind of like side eyeing you because you're taking away from their experience because a band is playing. Like they're actually there to see you and come out.
Yeah. And the true test, the true test of that is like we've played a couple different sort of like set times there. We've done it where we've gone on and played for like 2 hours straight, and that's our show. And there's like a
Right.
DJ before for a little bit, and then the DJ kind of takes the rest of the night. And then we've done it where we've handed off back and forth between us and the DJ, which is what happened this last time. And we did shorter sets. Like
They were short. They were like 40-minute sets.
yeah, they've been experimenting there. And I'm not sure whose call this is, but we've always been, as far as club dates go, early on we would play whatever because we were just trying to get out and play. But a lot of these, if it's a club that has a bar and they're not charging a lot for tickets, then they want the show to go late because they want to sell alcohol. Um, but for us, going any time past like midnight, like I am, to quote Danny Glover, too old for this shit. Like
It's
it
hard
just
to talk Kyle into doing club dates. It has to be really worth it to you to get you to want to do it enthusiastically. And it's a, I would say one of the battles that we have between us where I like doing club dates. I've also been having to come to terms with the fact that I don't think we're a club band because there's so many bands that saturate and oversaturate the area um, that will take any gig and won't kind of bring up the bar for what bands should be getting for their time and energy and talent. Um,
well, I think people always remark people always remark that like they see a difference in us, and I would assume the other, what I would consider the other really good bands. The question always becomes, will they pay more money at the door to see you versus what they would pay to see a band that they think is maybe not as good? And that's always where like the rubber meets the road. Like,
right.
are you willing to pay $20 to see us instead of 10? Um, I think for me, it's just the wear and tear, especially in the busy months. You got higher paying private gigs kind of surrounding these club dates, and if you're playing till 1:30 in the morning, it's just rolls so downhill from there, into the rest of the weekend and into the next week. Um, and for me, I think part of it's a principle. Like I think after having played so many club dates in my life, I feel like anything after midnight for a band is really diminishing returns.
Yeah.
It's like it just doesn't seem like it gets better. Seems like you keep bleeding audience, and it's like it could be a playlist, it could be a DJ at that point. So anyway, all that to say that this particular spot, we've ended at 11:30. This time we ended at midnight. And going back to what I was originally talking about, which is the handing off between the DJ, it's always dangerous for a band. And we might have covered this gig um, back when it happened, but like we played a pretty swanky party in Fresno last year or the year before, and it was like they had a DJ and they had us,
Mhm.
and they had the DJ on before us, and then they were gonna have the DJ on during our break, and then they were gonna have the DJ on after us, and I raised a fair amount of hell trying to get them to just sort of move our band setup and let us play 2 hours straight or whatever, because I have been scarred by the experience of having the DJ handing off back and forth to the DJ, because the
Right.
DJ is able to mix quicker than we are. It's more dancey, kind of clubby vibes.
Right.
And they're often louder, funny enough. Like, you would think the band would be louder, but some of these DJs,
Yeah.
including the one that was at number one Broadway this last
Oh
time,
my God.
mix very loud. And it's just a different vibe. It's once you switch to a DJ, if you're going to switch to a DJ, for my money, it should always be a one-way street. Like, band plays, that's cool, that's this thing, it's a performance. Then you switch to the DJ, which is like this more party. I mean, not that we're not party, but it's a
Yeah.
dancey. It's taking the dancey vibe that we create and like moving it to the next level. And so at number one Broadway, sorry, and I'll get a drink here in a second, but number one Broadway, this last time, they not only wanted to hand back and forth to the DJ, but they wanted us to play short sets, like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And that to me is like very dangerous in terms of the energy of the crowd, the flow of the room, all that. So for me, like in that context, like handing off back and forth, the fact that the crowd stuck around
Yep.
and that they were just as enthusiastic when we went on as when the DJ was on, and that happened every single time that we transitioned. That told me that people were there to see live music,
Right.
and that they like us. Because I imagine if we weren't as good as we are, they might be like, I'm gonna take a break, get a drink, whatever.
Right.
You know, it's people even when they're there to dance, like they need a break from dancing.
Yeah.
So you just hope they don't take that break when you're on. You know.
Right.
All right, I'm
No,
gonna get a drink now. You tell me.
yeah, no, it was super fun. I had a great group of people that came out too. We had some regulars that came out. Like I said, we had some people that came out that said they saw us there the last time and knew we were going to be there again. And so it was super fun vibes. It's always stressful when we don't have our own sound crew with us, but the way it works with us, I mean, we can't afford to bring our sound crew that we bring for the corporate and high end weddings and stuff like that to the club dates so much. So we're at the mercy of who's running sound that day, and it was fine in the end, but we didn't get a sound check.
No.
And so that was a little stressful, and I was getting
Well,
like
yeah.
I was polite. I'm never not polite, but it's so hard in that position as as any of the musicians. It's hard, but especially as the front person singer to not let my stress bleed that way. I don't think he knew that I was getting stressed and upset, but it's just such a panicky feeling when you don't get the sound check, but you also like are not hearing what you need to hear in your ears. And we were on in ears, and it was just like, oh my God, the whole first set is going to be just trying to figure things out. I have 40 minutes that I may be in complete hell. And just going into the set like that, it ended up being okay. But there's that moment of where you're just like, let's do or die. Let's just go and see what happens and just, expect the worst, hope for the best. Um, so that part was a little stressful, but it ended up being okay. So
The guy, the sound engineer did a great job. He wasn't able to get there until a certain time, is what it is. But like, if you're still running cables and stuff, like we were set up, he's still running cables like that. You're so far away from doing anything at that point.
yeah.
And yeah, when you hit about 10 to 15 minutes before you're supposed to start, you haven't made any noise. Nobody's dialed in their ears. Like I
was pacing.
I don't start to panic. I start to get upset.
Yes.
And he was really nice, so I was able to not turn that energy on him. And he did defer to us. He's like, "Well, you're in charge, so how do you want to do sound?" And I'm like, "I don't want to have to answer this question, like, because then you're deciding whether you're gonna stop the DJ who's in the middle of mixing so loudly, and you're on stage trying to talk. It's like I blew my voice out before we even started because
you're right.
They have a side fill, what we call a side fill. So there's the speakers that aim out towards the audience. There's what you would call monitors. Now we're on in-ears, so we don't have monitor wedges. But if you had speakers that are pointing back at the band, those are monitor wedges. Then what we call side fills are speakers that are on the side of the stage and sort of literally face sideways across the stage. And that's to both kind of fill in the overall sound on the stage for monitoring, and also just to kind of fill in the overall sound on the stage around the band for the audience. But I think in this case, it's also for the DJ to monitor what he's or she is mixing. And because this guy was mixing so loud and that side fill's facing the stage, it's just like
Yeah.
trying to have a conversation with the sound guy, trying to have a conversation with the band, and you're having to yell over this music. It's not ideal.
And just so people know, Kyle is the friendly diplomatic one. and but like what you also don't know, I mean, we've kind of talked about this before, is it takes you a moment to settle in. So I have to, so people, if you have any like grievances, if you have any like bad news, do not tell him before a set or a gig that I'm on, because I'm the one that has to deal with you on stage of feeling like I have to like pick up the slack, because you're not as experienced shaking it off. And like you will bring that into the set with you, and you're just like, you can tell that you're holding on for, you're white knuckling it and you're holding on for dear life. And it affects me because I can't help it, because I feel his energy, and I like, it doesn't affect my job. You won't know. The audience never knows, I don't feel. But there are the times that I'll walk by and go, knock it off. Stop it. Get it together. And usually you snap out of it pretty fast, but like sometimes it'll take you the whole first set. So my thing is like, when that starts happening, when I start getting stressed, and then I'm like, well, if I'm feeling stressed, I know that you're like 5 times more, and that's going to make for a hard set for me. So it's like, everybody just get it together and do your thing, so that like I don't have to take all this on. It's like, it's hard. I don't think people realize like the dynamics that go on like between it. And that's just counting you and me. Luckily, everybody else seemed to be okay. But like I could see Brian, and it makes me stressed when I see him like trying to make adjustments and everything. And then that starts like adding on to my stress. And he's not aiming anything at me, but it's just like I start feeling everybody's stress levels, and I start feeling it.
Well, on that note, I mean, I think we're
It was a
gonna.
great show.
Yeah, it was a great show, but I mean, I think it was a reminder. I've had a plan to build what we call a split. This is really technical stuff that
Yeah.
you may be bored by, but a little behind the curtain. I'm planning on building what we would call split, and that is where we bring some gear uh, that basically all the inputs plug into our gear, and that's where our monitors are. Like we have a console in there, and we have monitor sends, whether it's wireless or wired or whatever, but it all would come out of there. And we'd have our own modem and not modem, but router, so that people could log on and use the apps, because we all use apps now to mix our own ears. Um, and then it continues on from our gear to the front of house, or to, so when we do these kinds of gigs where we don't have our own crew, at the very least we have the consistency of kind of having our own mix sort of already dialed in, and if nothing else, being able to like very easily log on to mix our own ears on our iPads and stuff, because that saves so much time.
And
Like,
even being familiar with the app.
yeah,
The mixing apps change gig to gig with
whether you
whoever.
like it or not.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I already have 5 mixing apps. Which one? It's like, no, you got to download this one. And it's like, holy Jesus, do I really need 6 mixing apps? Like,
Yeah.
That part. And then they're all different. The interface is different, and I'm terrified of making a mistake or messing up somebody's mix.
Well, and the funny thing is, and he was trying to help. He's a really nice guy. He did a great job. But I had you download a certain app because the other apps weren't working. And he kept telling you, oh, that app's not working right. Like, whatever. Like, don't use that app because it's what. And I'm like looking at the thing, and I'm like, it's working exactly how it's supposed to work.
I finally gave up.
I came back to you and told you to use that app, though, and it was fine.
But I kind of like finally gave up.
Yeah,
I had a good enough mix that I was like, I'm not sweating the small stuff. It's not the mix that I would want, but I was just like,
that is
on with the show.
That is an important thing, I think, to sort of discuss. Sorry, excuse me. I think like on the sort of topic of building the split and having some more consistency and control over at least our ears, because like we can't help if things are happening front of house side, you know.
Which
But
people
when
do not understand that.
no,
We'll get into that.
but if the front of house side is, and like, I mean, the luxury of having our own sound crew on a lot of stuff is that we roll in with a consistent setup, because our ears are split out in that setup too.
Yeah.
So we roll in, we have the mix that we had at the last gig. So if nothing else, you're not starting from zero. Maybe you make some adjustments because the rooms are different, or you have a different, if you have a drum sub and they play softer or louder or whatever. But that's like such a luxury. It saves so much time and stress. Um, because the flip side of that is like when you go and do these city concerts or something like Number One Broadway, you're using other people's gear. If they're having to manage your front of house and your monitors, even if you're mixing them yourself, they got to get you logged on to their router signal, and they got to get you logged on to the console. And then it's like, you know, making sure that all of the mixes are like labeled correctly, so you're not mixing on somebody else's, changing somebody else's mix because you don't know which one you're on. That stuff adds so much stress, but also time.
Yeah.
And when you're on these like compact timelines, if we were able to just be like, don't worry about the ears, like just do what you got to do front of house. We got ears handled on this side. It's something I'm going to have to do very soon because it's such a stress. And what I really wanted to speak to before I got off on that tangent was like the idea of like at a certain point needing to stop fiddling with your mix, like, and this is part of my problem when you talk about me not being able to transition as easily. It's like my brain is split out thinking about either how I don't like my mix or how I know somebody else doesn't or whatever. Um, and it's like you can't split your attention that way if you're performing. Like at least I can. So the quicker you can get to a place where you're like, it's fine, and maybe you make a mix adjustment on a break, or when you know, if somebody else, if you're singing a song or I'm singing a song, and you really can just be like, all right, I got like 30 seconds to like, but
For
it affects your ability to like focus on what you're doing.
yes. And there's nothing, my pet peeve, my biggest pet peeve of singers that use in-ears is if you touch your ears once a song, if you're seeing people doing this, if you're doing this and you're a singer, you're not doing it correctly, because there's no way that you should be doing it's become a tick. It's a habit if you're doing this all the time, or if you're even fiddling with your pack. I fiddle with my pack a little bit because there are some songs that, like, no matter what the mix, it's going to come in a certain way. And I know that I just need the volume down. So I'll mess with volume. But if you are touching your in ears, you do not have a correct fit. You do not have, uh, most of the time it's a correct fit, but it's the most immature, unprofessional look I cannot stand. I cannot stand to see a singer do that. I have been really, really self-conscious of it when there's been times that, like, I get really bad allergies. So there is this sometimes, but I've seen people where they do it like every gig all the time. And it's like, then you got to figure something out. But it's so distracting. It's so distracting. But there's sometimes when I've gotten air pressure or whatever, and I'm like trying to like blow my ears out, kind of like when you would be, I guess, scuba diving. I've never done it, but I'm trying to like get the air out of my ears. But that's one of the things that drives me insane. Like there's a point in the show where you just got to live with it and do your job and do your thing, because it's just so distracting. And also, it's not going to get, this isn't going to make it better.
No. Well, it's funny
Doing this
though.
isn't going to make it better.
It's funny though, like the physical ticks or the habits that you get into. Because I mean, I'll sometimes become self-aware. Like lately, I feel like I've been putting my arm behind my back a lot. Like, and that might not sound like a big deal, I guess, but like it uh how do I describe it?
There's
Like,
one thing to become aware of something you're doing, but if you're like second guessing yourself, I like, do you, that's your thing. I know what you're talking about when you come out front and you kind of like do this thing. I think it's just your thing. It's no different than anybody putting like their hand on their hip or pointing out.
Which I do all those things too. I think the problem is that I became self-aware of it, and then I'm like thinking like, am I doing this too much? Like it's this weird level of active self-awareness on stage that I really try to avoid. It happens on drums too. Like if I'm playing a gig or I'm in a studio session and all of a sudden I'm like, what's my right hand doing? What's my, whatever. Like your brain will just like short circuit. And
Have you ever
you
stopped to
start,
think about how like when you're walking, you're like, how am I walking right now?
yeah, I don't recommend doing that.
No. So
Yeah.
like that's what I'm saying. Like nobody, if anybody ever would do that, it would just mess up your walk. All of a sudden you'd feel like you're walking weird or different or be aware of something. And so it's like, don't think about
Yeah.
that unless somebody, and like, because I'll tell you if I think you're doing something that doesn't look good or doesn't look right or whatever. So if I haven't told you anything, then you're fine.
I appreciate that. It's funny when I'm teaching drum lessons. Sometimes I'll use a metronome app or whatever to either get a tempo or to help keep a tempo, and it has a light on it.
Mhm.
And whenever any of my students looks over and tries to follow the light, they like go completely off the rails because your brain it's a helpful reference, but it's not really helpful to like play to, if that makes sense. And I'll have to constantly tell them, stop looking at it. Stop looking at that. Like, because they get so self-aware of the light instead of just doing what they're doing.
Are they hearing it too or just the light?
Usually I'm clicking along or something, but it's just that thing where you become very self-aware of like, am I playing along? It's just like, yeah, you can't do that.
I mean, yeah, because if I started thinking about, there's been times when I think like, have I done this move too much? But then if I think that, the one thing that I become very self-aware of in the last couple years is my need to move all the time. And this is something that I've talked about so much, in the green room and everything with the band, and how I have now taken a couple songs that it's like, this is a song where I'm just going to stand there. Because for me, the way that I was brought up in the industry and with being on stage is like, you always had to be doing something and be busy and have, dynamics and everything. But nobody ever really told me about or let me feel comfortable in the quiet moments. It wasn't until I really started dancing and when I started learning about the in between spaces, the breath, the stillness, and how there's so much beauty and there is a dynamic with that. So I've taken more moments to plant myself. And it's like, this is still dynamic. This is still big. It's just a different type of bigness.
I struggle with
And I've
that
been
though.
like doing
Yeah.
that more lately where I like take these moments, but sometimes I really have to think like, okay, I'm gonna put the mic on the stand and I'm gonna just, be more here instead of everywhere. I don't want to feel like I'm on a pogo stick all the time and everything. And part of that is being in bands that play music really fast and loud and just feeling like you just got to be moving because what else are you going to do kind of thing. But we have the opportunity with our band that we play with so much nuance and we have such a pocket and groove that we can like take those moments and have more groove than just moving all the time.
Yeah.
Those of you that aren't watching this, you're missing out.
Yeah. Yeah. She's acting it all out. It's incredible. I struggle with that though too. I mean, like I barely ever use a microphone stand. Um, Sometimes it's just because the transitions between our songs are so quick. Um, but also like I feel way more exposed when the mic's on the stand because I almost like don't know what to do. Because I don't have a lot of experience like using the microphone stand as like a part of my performance. Like I just recently started picking a couple songs where I'm putting the mic on the stand. I'm like, because I saw a video of myself singing those songs and I was like, it feels awkward to be moving around with the mic. It's like I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys.
Mm.
It's like I'd be like trying to roam around the stage and it just doesn't, the energy doesn't match. Um, but same thing, like like if we're on a tighter, I would say like a narrower, yeah, like a narrower stage. Um, because we have so much gear and we stacked up, we're stacked up 3 by 3. Um, you come out from when you're singing, I'm at the percussion rig usually.
Right.
But when I'm singing, sometimes you're at the percussion rig, but sometimes you're out with me. And it's like if you're on my left between me and the percussion rig and the bass player's on the right, I don't have anywhere to go left to right. I start to get very like panicked isn't the right word, but like I don't know what to do. Like I need to be moving.
Right.
Like that's where I feel comfortable. Left to right, front to back, whatever, turning around, like that's my tick. So
That's
when I'm
why.
forced into one spot, I'm often like I get very self-aware and self-conscious about what I'm doing instead of just like planting myself and like performing. And it's something I haven't really been able to like get a handle on.
Well, I think it's hard because a lot of the stages have been small, kind of, and that's why I don't love retreating to the percussion spot, but I do that because I want to give you room and space. But I also feel when I do that, sometimes I feel like very separated from the band because I'm not playing anything. Like if I was playing something or whatever, I don't think I'd feel that way. But I do like to give you room and that you don't have to worry about another body being in the vicinity that you have to think about being around. Um, but there are certain songs that I think you notice that I do come out more to play off of you because I don't want to lose that chemistry that you and I have performing together. Um, and I sometimes miss it when I'm singing and when I realize like you're over there and you're playing, but it's like you don't have to always be playing. You can come out and you do it occasionally, rarely, but you do it. But there's like sometimes you could even come out and sing with me. You don't you're not expected, I don't feel, to play every song on percussion. Um, but it's just like one add to the list of things that we actively think about when we're on stage. Now, is it like that every second of being on stage? No. I still get lost in the movement. I get lost in the music. I get lost in the band and everything. It's not that way all the time, but we're constantly thinking and negotiating room and negotiating space and everything. And it's just the way it is. I mean, number one, Broadway, what isn't one of the smaller stages. It's small, but it's not like some of the other clubs we played where you're just like right on top of each other and have nowhere to go.
It's right at the limit of doable, I think.
Yeah, and they've made it nice. It feels nice. You're elevated. It feels good. I feel good on that stage. I enjoy that room.
Part of it
And
is
and
like,
I like
yeah,
I like clubs. Now, this is where we go back and forth because obviously they're not the big money makers. I like clubs because one, I don't have to worry about how I dress, and I like that freedom. And two, I don't have to worry about ticking off a bride or a bridesmaid or anything like that. I don't feel beholden to anybody. And if they feel like I'm being too much or too big or I'm being too sexy, it's like in a club, I feel like I can finally just be myself and not worry about anybody else. And that's why I like doing club dates because I feel like I have a little bit more, well, I know I have more freedom. And I don't feel like there's not the contract that's been signed and the client's hand that we've been holding for the whole year and that whole expectation. And it's just like I can just come out and be me, and I can cuss if I want to, and I can tell a dirty joke if I want to, and not worry that I'm going to offend somebody so much.
yeah. I think where we're getting to with this specific um, venue is that David is, I think, going to try to make it more of a higher ticket price kind of event to have us there, which is something we've sort of been missing. Which we've tried to get into other venues. Some we've actually played, and some have just sort of led us around to ultimately just decide they don't want to book us or just not answered our correspondence at all, which
Do you know what that does to him?
big pet peeve of mine.
because he has to hear from me.
Yeah, but it's also a pet peeve of mine because I handle a lot of the email correspondence. And it's like, and I'll just say this, like recently we've had a couple inquiries and I've sent information out and not heard anything. And I followed up and not heard anything. And then I followed up a third time and they're like, oh yeah, they ended up booking another band.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
Or
that's their right. But like, we haven't even talked to them.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we didn't even get a chance to pitch, but not even
or I hadn't even sent pricing because I had, follow-up questions or whatever. So
right. But either they went with another band or they went with a DJ, but like still didn't even like say, hey, sorry, just wanted to we got your material, but we went with a DJ or whatever, like not to get anything.
yeah, I just don't
And
understand how that became an expectation. Like, or that became an acceptable way to do business.
I
Like,
kind of wish though that I would have got that more from some of the clubs that I reached out to. To me it was the opposite, where I was led on for months, dare I say even years, to then finally be told like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna hire you. It's like, why didn't you tell me this 2 years ago?
right.
Like some of that stuff. And then on the flip side of that though, I mean, one of the things I had wanted to talk about was my biggest heartbreak last year was we got into a nice venue and um it was a really nice guarantee. It's not quite a club, but I wouldn't say it. Well, it's a nice venue,
I mean,
but they
yeah.
never had dance variety
No, it
bands.
was like more of a seated thing, and sometimes they'd open up a small dance floor, but it really was like a seated, ticketed kind of vibe at that
Right.
place.
And this was the first time they were bringing in a band to do like, we're bringing in a dance band, we're bringing in a variety band. And I was so excited. And I like pimped this show. I mean, I guess I could say it. It was Almost Famous. And I was really, really excited. And we did well, but we didn't sell out. And then at the end of the night, we basically were flat out told we would never be hired again because we didn't sell out. We didn't know.
No, that's not how it was. They're planning on closing that venue and moving all of their sort of public facing live music stuff to the bigger Kincannon Winery, and that room that they're building there is going to be like 500 plus capacity.
Okay.
So the place that we were playing, Almost Famous, is like 200.
Yeah.
And so their point was, at the number that you guys got to, which was approaching, it was more than 50% of the way to sold out. It was like 75% sold.
Yeah.
But their point was, because you didn't basically oversell this show, we wouldn't have faith or confidence in bringing you over to this bigger room.
Right.
So that was it. Was so the heartbreak wasn't so much that they were like rejecting us. It was like, oh, well, if we were going to keep this room open long term, then we probably would invest into you as a recurring, act. But we're not planning on keeping this room, and so we're also not going to bring you over to the new big room.
Right.
So it's like bad timing,
Yeah, but except that like you have to build things up like that. And we had people come from all over the Bay Area, which was really cool. I mean, people had said that they came from Morgan Hill, people came from Redwood City, um, San Carlos and everything to see us because they saw that we were going to be there. And you can't expect a band that's not local and everything to like draw and sell it out, I feel, on the first time. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
No,
that's me being saving my fifis. I cried for days. I cried for days. And that was the time when I reached out to my buddy Bray. Bray has a Neon Velvet and Bray and the Dens and New Moon Monday. And um this is when I love that I have close friends that are in the business. And I was like, I need, can I call and cry on your shoulder over the phone for like 30 minutes? And he answered the call and he talked to me and he was so sweet and everything. And just like, it's just so hard all the time because you just feel like you're always just trying to like carve out a spot for yourself and prove that you're worthy and that you're enough. But like a lot of times, and I get it, the venues want to make money and everything like that, but it's like if you want to bring a dance band to build something like that, it's going to take more than one time to build something. It's like we could have gone in there and done something and 6 months later, or they're still open too in that spot.
Well, they brought us back to play a Halloween party, which also sold well.
Yeah.
So
I think that one almost sold out. But again,
yeah, but the thing is like, and this is the point I was getting to or wanted to get to. You didn't know that, but you sort of got to the point I was trying to get to for me, which is great because now I can elaborate. It's why when somebody like David, who is trying to turn #1 Broadway into like a more premier place to see live music and try to get better bands in there and get the bands more money and get the venue more money. That's why when those opportunities present themselves, that's when I'm like, all right, well, let's invest into this a little bit and see where it goes. Because this guy's driving the bus. We just have to book a date or two and like promote it and just show up and do a great job.
Right.
Because the thing is you're exactly right. Like, there are bands in town that have either been around for a long time or they're tribute acts, which just sell live tickets because they're basically banking on the name of a famous artist or, band or whatever. So you do need if you're going to go into a place, you need to be able to build it. And in order to be able to build it, you need multiple opportunities. Because the same thing happened to us at like Coyote Sonoma.
Oh, don't even get me started on Coyote
Which
Sonoma.
in and of itself was like, it was so hard to communicate. It just was, not.
There was no communication.
Yeah.
There was zero communication. Nobody even introduced themselves to us that worked there when we loaded in. Like,
we met the bartenders who were also not full-time employees.
Right. So. Nobody greeted us. Nobody that's just weird. That's weird. And then I'm the one that handles the content and the promoting and everything like that. And I really make an effort to, y'all, you don't know the research that I do and the looking and seeing what kind of posts that they've done and what do they put on their website. And I go through and look at everybody's lead up and everything. And to see that we were doing their Valentine show. So you think Valentine's, that's a thing too. In fact, it's a year.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
But you think that's something to promote. That's something to have a thing. And I don't know, like Valentine's Day, with every ticket you get a rose, or a glass of bubbly or something like that. And here's the band. But like there was no mention of us on their socials. They were pimping a band the next month for St. Patrick's Day already. And I was like, well, whoa, wait a minute. Our gig is in 2-3 weeks. Why are you pimping St. Patrick's Day? We haven't got past this yet.
Right.
We're a new band here. Like, what gives? And trying to like get in touch with people. Nobody would respond to me. Doing posts that they could easily repost or share, didn't repost or reshare. I made them collaborators, didn't do any of that. And it was like, what more can I do when you're not helping me? I ended up doing a 2-week long, very difficult for me, song showdown. Remember?
Yeah.
It was the death of me that whole lead up. I decided to do a battle of the love songs from different decades, different artists. I did a whole what do you call it,
like a grid.
Yeah, had the grid going. And I would it was a thing. I put together really nice posts for every day, and I took votes and people had to vote on their favorite ones, and I would do the thing. And I y'all, it was a thing. The band, it was a very active text thread and everything of the songs, and luckily the songs that we wanted won. Funny enough, well, actually, it was really funny. We did not think it was the one that won was "Kiss from a Rose."
No,
that was
a me. That was an alternate.
No, but that was it did get high marks, but it didn't win. The one that won was "Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now."
and Time of My
and
Life,
Time of My Life.
the two big duet 80s duet, not the only two big
So
80s
not
duets,
only
but
was it love songs, it was love songs from movies.
yeah,
That was the thing.
yeah, yeah.
And so we had songs like I Will Always Love You, um Everything I do it for you. Like I had so many songs from so many One That I Want, different genres, different
Power of Love, Huey Lewis,
yeah,
Back to the
so
Future.
many great, and it came down to Time of My Life and Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, which I'm not mad at, but put so much work into it. And there are people that came, but it wasn't like great. And then there were so many
I
people that
disagree.
did.
I think we did pretty well there considering all the hurdles, and we got a lot of positive feedback both from the bartenders and the people there, and like the place there was plenty of people in that place. And that was so. And then afterwards, when they were like, "Oh yeah, you know, we'll hit you up next time. We're like doing dates or whatever," and then we followed
Nothing.
up and you don't hear anything, and it's like, okay, like it's one of those things where you go like, okay, did we sell it out? No. Were there a decent amount of people there? Yes. So like to just go like, okay, we're not gonna like invest into this band as like a recurring product. It's sort of like we didn't come in and like go over. Like there wasn't nobody lost money that night.
No.
And to me, it's what discourages me about club dates because it feels like it's either you play someplace, you play super late and you make no money, or you get into some of the nicer places and if you don't sell it out first time out, they're just like, oh well,
Yeah.
you know. And so again, that's why weirdly we've been looking for a place to sort of invest into and call home. And David's been pushing this with number one Broadway, and it's a sort of a no, I mean, it is a South Bay venue. Los Gatos is sort of tucked away, so it's a little out of the way. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, we live in the South Bay. So
Yeah.
maybe it's a blessing in disguise to have somebody really, you know, investing into us and wanting to get us to a place where people go, oh, Mercy and the Heartbeats is playing. Like, I'm going to circle that and I'm going to pay the higher cover charge and I'm going to make a night of it and bring my friends out and throw a party. And because
Right.
number one Broadway gets a lot of people in there doing like birthday parties and stuff like that where they bring a bunch of people in. So that's, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of a dope vibe.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. I like it that, it's close enough that friends and family can come to. And, we had quite a few people show up that way, but we did have a lot of people, like I said, that, it excites me when I hear um Dawn and Lisa. They came up there. I remember their name, Dawn and Lisa. And Dawn came up and said, we saw that you were here. We're so excited. We wish, we've been waiting for you guys and it's been a while and everything. And I just thought that just made my night and that did it for me. Um that's my love language. Uh so yeah, I get really competitive. Everybody that knows me well knows this. I get competitive. I think every gig should be my gig. I think every venue should want to have us. Um, I get really competitive in that way, and I've been trying to get in some bigger rooms, and I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to change. There's nothing about Mercy I want to change. I love Mercy and the Heartbeats, and I love what we do. I think we're a really amazing product. I think we're consistent, but I've been disappointed that it hasn't got us into some of the rooms that I thought we would get into. And it's like, once again, it's like, oh, but if we were an 80s band, we'd be in. If we were, maybe we need to say we're a tribute to the 2010s or whatever, because it's like it just seems that you just put that on front of what you're doing, all of a sudden you're getting these bookings. And I because nothing also bugs me more than seeing these tribute acts that say they're a tribute act. They're like, we're a tribute to Lionel Richie, because I don't want to call any bands out. I'm not going to do that. We're a tribute to Lionel Richie. If you're a tribute to Lionel Richie, do not play Bon Jovi. Do not play Stevie Wonder. If you're a Lionel Richie tribute, do Lionel Richie, do a tight 80 to 90-minute show of Lionel Richie. There is plenty of material, but I am so tired of these people that are coining themselves tribute bands, and they go in and they're not even playing half the set of the band or artist they're saying that they're a tribute of.
Or they're listing themselves as a tribute to like 4 different artists. It's like, well, then that's not a tribute.
Right.
You're just playing a variety of songs.
Right. So
You can't
then
be
you're
like
a variety
You
band.
can't be like a tribute to like all of the top pop singers currently out there. Like that's not a thing to me anyway. I don't,
Right. When I used to do the Herrera sisters, towards the end of our run, we would do a show that was how did we name it? It was like the Herrera sisters. It wasn't tribute, but it was like songs of our of because it was like an ode to Latin female artists. I can't remember how we used to call it, but it was like, because we were doing Shakira, Gloria Estefan, Selena, Limite, and all these other Giselle, all these other artists, and we wanted it to be known that we were paying tribute to these female Latin artists. But
that's a theme.
Yeah,
I
guess that's what it is. I know that there's some theme bands that are
I just
doing
don't think
things
I don't
like
think
that.
I don't think a genre is a theme, right? I mean, I guess in a sort like if you're a reggae band, but there's a bunch of different kinds of reggae. But like, let's say, okay, like reggae, like if you're saying like we're a tribute to uh female Latin, artists or whatever, that's a theme at least. Like,
Right.
but saying like, oh, it's a tribute to, you know, uh Dua Lipa, Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, it's like, what like other than the like what is the theme there
Right.
exactly? It's not, there's no angle to me.
Well,
Like,
it'd just be like, pop female tribute or something like that.
I guess.
Or, that's the theme. Like I have seen that, like there's been bands that are like women of soul, and then it's like, or Shaka Khan and Whitney Houston, and who's another one?
Aretha
Aretha Franklin.
yeah.
So like that again, but it's more like a theme. They name it as a theme instead of like a tribute. But if you say that you're a tribute to an artist, gosh dang it, please stick to that. There is plenty of material. There's plenty of material that you could be doing that you don't have to do that. It's even like some of the bands that say like they're
If there's not enough material, then there probably shouldn't be a tribute to that artist.
yeah,
Is also,
that too. But like even some of the 90s band, unless that an 80s song has been covered by a 90s band, don't do an 80s song. It always just feels so lazy to me of like people that
stay in your lane. That's kind of what
But it's like, don't stop believing. If you're just doing that because it's a crowd pleaser and you figure it's a home run, but that's not in your tribute to the 90s, like,
right.
So it's like stuff like that drive me insane. I don't like laziness. I don't like when people seem to go for low hanging fruit.
I also just think
opinions. Yay!
Well, I also just think like
all of us have them.
Damn, we got more than most. There's no like rules, but to me, like there's unwritten rules about what we do. There's like ethics around what we do. That's probably ridiculous, but that's the way I feel. Like,
no, there are. Don't steal people's band members. Don't poach band members.
Don't steal medleys and arrangements that are very unique to the band.
Yes.
That, because that's the one thing we got is like most people are playing the same songs in some combination or other. But like, if you have specific arrangements or specific, medleys or whatever, like, don't poach. I remember, we were in our previous band. We did a big, backing up like famous artist thing where we were like, we played a dance set, and then we backed up like Mark McGrath and Coolio and all the kind of stuff we used to do in that band. And we brought over a medley we had a couple guest musicians from another band in town that were helping us, augment our band. And we brought one of their medleys over,
Mhm.
and we played it for that show. And then there was discussion about like keeping that medley in our set, and we had the backing track and everything. And I was like, hardline no, like.
Absolutely
And I was
not.
not the final decision on that matter, but I had a very strong opinion about that, where I was like, if we want to do a medley of this artist or whatever, then we should come up with our own,
Yeah.
and not take theirs, because they'll see us do that and they will be upset because I would be upset.
Again,
So
it's lazy. It's lazy. There, do your own thing. And not everybody has to do that and do it that way, but yeah, don't take other people's stuff. Um don't take, like, there's been people that are on bands that aren't, and I say this kindly, we're not all on the same level, but like there's some bands that have kind of gone around to make it look like one of us or more of us are going to be on certain events or gigs, and made it, the way they tag us in socials or stuff like that. Don't do that. That's not cool either. Like, someone's not in your band, don't tag them. I get where everybody does the thing of like, well, I want everybody to see that I'm doing this event. I'll totally buy it. I think you
yeah,
go through and invite people, but if you tag people, it makes them look, and kind of makes them think like, well, I didn't say they're on the
yeah.
gig, but if you think they're on the gig, like, I don't.
Part of it is like the changing tools and rules around like the social media platforms, where it like used to have Facebook, event invites, and then they changed it to where you couldn't mass invite everybody. So,
Right.
okay. So now you have to go through and click every single one. Then it was like, oh, well, now you can only add X amount of people. And then it was, people started doing what you're talking about. Like, well, I'll just tag everybody, you know, I'll tag people that I think will then like get it boosted out. And now it's like, at least with Facebook, which I really try not to use, but I'm on it. I think honestly, at this point, if it wasn't for my occupation, I would be off social media. Like, it really doesn't,
No,
it's really not a very fun experience. And they've
it's true.
they've sort of juiced the lemon now to a point where it's not, like, it's so ridiculous how like blatantly obvious it is that you're just, it's just a marketing platform.
Well, it's just like what
Like,
we've talked about. Like, we didn't become musicians to be content creators. And I'm constantly working on, what can I come up with this week? Or if I don't, oh my God, it's been a week, I haven't posted anything. And I gotta start pimping this show, which, like, fine, but then there's like this thing of like, if I'm not pimping a show, am I really doing a good job of being here on social media, doing content, pushing us
right.
out? It's so consuming. It's
Well,
so much.
now the thing that replaces tagging everybody is like Facebook now. Uh, it's like you can highlight a post or highlight a comment, and it'll like notify every one of your friends or followers or whatever. And I'm just here to tell you that if you do that, it's a guaranteed way for me to never click on what you posted. Like, if I see that in my like notifications or whatever, I'm not clicking through. So if you think you're getting my attention, and maybe you don't care whether you got my attention, but I'm just putting it here right now. I don't click on it out of principle, out of spite, really.
Us being under the weather has really brought out our like spicy sassiness. I don't
Well, sometimes we're funny, sometimes we're melancholy, and but
Sometimes we're
often
passionate and
often often we're passionate and spiteful in some way.
uh,
Yeah, we're just competitive. Yeah.
we are. We are. Yeah, it's just also it's the it hasn't quite jumped back into things. We are on this kind of like little break, and being sick has not obviously been fun. And we've been doing all like the kind of BS work behind the scenes. We've been revamping. We have our country band, Electric Rodeo, and we've been trying to figure out how we were going to promote that or where we were going to put that. And we decided to add a page to Mercy and the Heartbeats. And I don't know if people know this, but we have Mercy and the Manz LLC, and that's our umbrella that we do everything under. And we think over time that we're going to have more bands and hopefully maybe even book. And that's something that we want to get into, maybe do event coordination and everything like that. So We were working on that all this week. It was not as easy as it should have been. Um,
Lots of I want to shout out my friend Doug Keene, who's a great bass player and a model American. He um uh I think unwittingly became my personal IT guy, trying to figure out like website domain forwarding and all this like just stuff that I don't have a lot of interest in, but also need to be able to do because we can't afford to hire somebody to do it for us.
right,
So
right,
it's
right.
like when you're running your own business and doing this kind of stuff, it's like owning a house, right? It's like people are like, well, you buy a house, then you learn how to do stuff yourself because you don't want to pay a plumber every time, So it feels that way with our business where it's like, oh shoot, all right, well, I guess we better learn how to like develop a website, and then we better. It's just like
And this whole
never
week
ending.
has just been auditing business. And
Yeah.
it's been, you know, we need to talk about the promo for this. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about all these things. And so it just feels like right now it's just kind of been like, oh, that's been all the like not as fun stuff. It hasn't been the performing stuff. It hasn't been the feeling, feeling ourselves. I mean, this is the first time today I put on makeup in a week because I felt good enough to put it on. And I'm like, wow, what a difference. I feel better a little bit, but it's just been one of those weeks. I've been stressing about getting content. I've also been excited to be back doing the podcast, but um, that's been a learning curve, especially with adding the video component and everything. And before we started, like the lights were weird and the whatchamacallit, the other phone holder broke and
Well,
like all these things.
it's also funny, like going back to what we were talking about earlier about like being like really self-aware or self-conscious or whatever about the way you're, ticks and how you're holding your body and all that. Like, um, I often, I have an expectation on this podcast to like be funny. Sorry, I'm sniffling into the mic to be funny, because I feel like that's like what I do. Um, and I feel like on the recorded podcast when we used to do it, like I really was able to grasp that energy more often than not. And I feel like since we've restarted and we're on camera and all this stuff, like I don't feel like I've found my footing yet
Mm.
around like when to look at the phone camera, like, and I don't feel like I've been very funny, and I started getting self conscious about it because I'm like, well, am I entertaining if I'm not funny? But I also can't like force myself to be funny either. So
Right.
it's
But
uh
what was the other thing that I was saying though is we've like really, really curbed our drinking, and we were drinking a lot when we
that's
were.
true.
Well,
Well,
maybe we weren't as funny, or we're funnier when we drink. See?
but the drinking thing, I mean, I've been trying to not drink on shows, or at least not drink until we're most of the way into a show because of how much it's affected my voice. Um,
Well, we were talking about that. Didn't we talk about that the last? Yeah, we talked about that the last
yeah,
podcast
but
a
I
little
mean
bit.
that's another added thing of like, all right, am I still as engaging or funny or fearless on stage if I'm not drinking? And I
We must
mean,
have been doing something right on the last gig. Apparently, my sister told you that some gal was upset that you were married to me because that meant she wasn't going home with the singer.
that happens a lot.
And she said, well, I guess I'm going to have to take both home, but nobody came up to both of us or
Yeah.
either of
No,
us
that didn't
at the end of
happen.
the gig. So
That o-
that's some.
that offer was not extended past that conversation that we weren't a part of. So, um,
Uh-oh, I think my Roxy's dad is calling me. I don't know if that shows up on the video.
is he picking her up,
He might be.
or does he think you're picking her up?
I don't know. We'll talk in a second.
Okay, well, that might be the end of this episode.
um, well, I just thought that was funny though.
Yeah, it was. But now I feel like we need to figure out if your daughter's stuck at school or not.
She's got she doesn't get out until later because she has
Oh, I thought it was 2:40 for some reason.
no.
Oh, never mind. We're gonna leave that in just so you get a little behind the scenes.
This is how we
Yeah,
do it. This is
yeah.
how we do it.
Anyway, I mean, yeah, we talked about it last week, and the answer, of course, is I'm perfectly fine without having alcohol in my system. But it's another thing, right? Like when we used to do club dates, and especially in my old band, we played Dan's Bar all the time. Like you drink for free there, and I would just get very inebriated over the course of the night, and it's a different thing. Um, and I can't do that. I don't want to do that, first of all, anymore, but I also can't do it because I'm singing so much more, even though I sing a ton of background vocals in that band, but it's just a different part of your voice.
Yeah.
And I haven't built up the resiliency. I don't think I have the technique you have singing and everything. So I have to be really careful about how and what I do and when I use my voice and what I add to it and all that kind of stuff. So, um,
We've been making a lot of changes, and it's been hard and sad
like
and
yeah. When you're younger and people tell you, hey, when you hit your 40s and 50s, you're going to deal with like acid reflux and you're going to deal with this and this and this and this. And you, like I did, say, that ain't going to happen to me. Like I'm built different. I promise you, is it going to happen to you? And you're going to have to pick and choose your vices and pick and choose your um,
yeah. What
indulgences
and
and
what you're
all that.
willing to battle on a weekly, daily basis. I mean, that being said, we have a gig coming up. Well, we are playing Valentine's Day. A smaller group of us are playing, and then we have a rock and roll team building coming up. We talked about that a little bit. I won't go like deep into it because it'll be fun to debrief that one after. But that was one that we've always drank pretty heavily on. And I'm already not stressed, but it does really become a part of the lifestyle. And then when you're like, you feel like you're on vacation and we're flying in, oh, we're at the airport. Let's get a cocktail because time doesn't matter when you're in an airport and you're on a plane. And
Rules don't exist.
so it's like, that would be our thing. And like, oh, let's go have a little cocktail or and then right away, oh, we landed. Okay, let's go to the bar. And then, but now we have these call times at like 5 a.m. or whatever. It's like, I'm already like, oh, I can't drink before. And I'm like, well, you know what? I don't need to drink it all on this. And then like, that's when I'm like, oh, do I have a serious problem? Because that makes me sad. But it's just certain things that you just kind of like gotta change and think about the longevity of for one, our experience there. We have no room for error there. It's like we land in time to like maybe rehearse, and then the next day is like the whole day, and our call time is 5:30 a.m.
5:45, I think.
Yeah.
But still,
So it means that we got to be up.
anything before 7 might as well be the same
I
time.
mean,
Like,
yeah. And so it's just that changes the dynamic. And then I think like, well, are we all going to still hang though? Because that's my favorite thing of these gigs is the hang. But
the
like,
answer is yes.
but it's
We
like,
have never not hung.
no,
Yeah.
we've always had really like the rock and roll team building family is amazing. And
I will say this. The big driving force for me is to not be hungover on the plane.
yes,
Because flying while hungover is not the thing
we've done
for
it.
me. I don't.
We've
Yeah,
done it.
maybe you enjoy it,
Do
but
not recommend. 0 out of 10.
no.
It's not
So
great.
I try to avoid that best I can.
Yeah. I haven't been in a long time, but and this is going to be a smaller group, but I mean, I know that they've talked about it before on their podcast, but Bray and Jeff have kind of been going through the same thing of like pulling back their drinking, and they have definitely been some of our favorite drinking buddies on these
It's true.
gigs. So we've definitely had shenanigans.
I often stop and think, am I a bad influence? But
Nah,
but I think I'm just fun. So
you're fun.
yeah, thank you.
You're fun when you don't drink too, but you are really fun when you drink. But that would not be a reason for you to keep drinking.
No, just a side benefit.
Anyway, I don't know. I guess that's a good place to stop.
Yeah, we kind of went all over the place, but it also all of it sort of relates to each other. Like I feel like when I do therapy, occasionally, I'll like sometimes do these like hour where I'm like throwing all this stuff out, like kind of against the wall or just putting it all out on the table and being like, I don't know if I'm making any sense. I don't know if any of this. And then at the end, I'll have this aha, like full circle moment where I'm like, oh yeah, all this stuff is totally connected. And that's
It
how I feel this podcast is sometimes, where we're like, this takes us this way and this takes us this way. And then at the end, I'm like, what did we talk about? But then you think about it, it's like it is totally all related.
Well, it is, and you have to kind of like clear it out to make room for all the other stuff. And I think like this has kind of just been forward momentum of getting it back into the podcast and trying to be more on a schedule. Like my goal has been to be every other week. Part of the problem is that we record it in somewhat real time, and so us being sick kind of like knocked us off our time. But I think like we've been kind of getting momentum. We've been kind of honing in on what it is we want this to sound and look like. Did you notice our purple light? It's gonna look cooler every time, I swear.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have something cool back here. And learning how to do it and everything. There was one thing I wanted to do, and then I was laughing because I will have to do it a different way. I wanted to do a there's this guy I follow that does these. He plays 1 second of a song, and you have to guess the song. And I had one ready to go, and then I remembered that it's on my phone, which is
Oh yeah,
what's recording.
that would be
So
difficult.
I'm gonna have to like do that on your phone or something like that. But I thought that would be a funny thing to do, because there was one that I saved that I did horribly on, but I knew that like I got 2 out of the 10, but I know I have faith in you that you'll get all 10. So I think that'll be fun to
That's a
do.
lot of pressure.
That'll be fun to do. But we have rock and roll team building coming up soon. We are going to get to the final episode of the Burning Man. What I was thinking of doing is reloading up those, like do a refresher and reloading those and putting all our pictures of everything that we endured through that.
Yeah.
And that way people that haven't heard that podcast can get caught up, and then we'll have the third final thing of that. So that's something that we're working on too.
Yes.
But yay. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Love you.
Toodles.
Doodles. Don't you love me?
You said that you found me, but you know that it was I found